using React. So if you see that, let me give an example. I actually see. Suppose if you click on any, suppose I'm going to book a train. So if you see that the page first still loading, it will load the page and after that presenting. And suppose if I click anywhere, if you see that the page is loading, present. So what React do is it will load entire component at once. And if you go to any page, it will not load the page. It will take you through all the page that you want to go. So if you see that React website, if I go to the tutorial, if you see that it will not load. Did you see the? If I go to blog, it will not load the page. Okay, this is how React is working. So React is built on JavaScript. It uses JavaScript and it uses lots of inbuilt libraries. It uses Babels, which is called a transpiler, which convert JavaScript code into a machine code because browser does not understand this JSX. So JSX is nothing but we can write HTML code and JavaScript code together. So if you go to the tutorial of this page, main concept. So this is the JSX. Okay, JSX is nothing but a JavaScript code and HTML code we can write together. So there are lots of element present. We can query the HTML by using this document dot get element by ID. Suppose if I want to access any element from the DOM is nothing but a document object model of any page. Suppose if you are building a website, then that website is illustrated in the form of DOM back to the browser. So how DOM look like? This is the DOM. Okay. Are you guys understanding?
Yes, sir.
So this is the DOM. This is called a document object model. Okay. So this is how we can create an React element. So if you click this, then it will load code sandbox. Suppose this is a div element and we are trying to, we can say that uh, we can try to decorate this div element. So we give them an ID called root, and this root can be accessed by using React by using this document dot get element by ID. This is the property. And we have 3 or 4 properties available. The first one is the document get element by ID, get element by class name, get element by, I think, element. Okay. So we are creating a root. This is the React DOM. React DOM is a package which are used to provide a kind of I mean to use access the element of the React. So we are accessing this div element. Okay, and we are presenting this hello world into this element. So this hello world element is showing inside this div. Okay, and if I change something, then it will definitely change. So how we installed React. So others, did I give a full overview of the React, or
No, just help them understand. They can go through the lectures and understand it. I just wanted you to show them how we go over things in React.
okay? So earlier we have discussed we are using JSX. So JSX is nothing but a HTML and JavaScript code we can write together. But our React does not understand this JSX. So we use a transpiler which is called a Babel, which convert this JSX into a browser understandable code. So if you see that if you're using C language, then we use a compiler to compile our C code, which convert into a machine code. So that's how browser this Babel convert this JSX into a machine code or browser understandable code. So that's why we're using Babel. Okay, so this is the simple element that we can create. We are assigning an HTML element to a variable in JavaScript. So we are creating a variable in JavaScript by using three ways, by using let, var, and const. So here we are defining a const variable which is called element, and we are assigning an HTML element into this const variable element. Okay, so if we want to render this element, so we can easily render this element by using the variable name called element. And if I put names or whatever inside this inside any HTML element, so we can using this property, using this convention by using curly braces. Okay, suppose if I give you practical understanding. If you see that okay, so before jump into this practical example, I will go through a components. So we have in React, we have two components. The first one is the class component and second one is the functional component. So what is the difference between a class and functional component? So a class component in which we can use lifecycle methods. Okay, what is lifecycle method? And suppose if you want to change the behavior of your component in any ways. So okay, so we can use class component. But functional component, we are only using functional component when we are rendering something or we are showing something into the browser. So that's how we use functional components. So in this example, if you see that we are using functional components, because we are creating by using functions. We also have a class component. So if I create a class component, so we can create class component by using this. So this is how we create a class component. Okay, and this is how we create a function component. So if you see this example, we are creating a simple function. Well, functional component is simply just a function. We can create a function component by using arrow functions. So how many of you knows JavaScript? Have you guys any idea about JavaScript?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so okay. So you know that we can create a function by using arrow functions. So here, this is a simple function component. We are defining a function which is called welcome. Okay. So props is nothing but a parameter. This function takes one parameter called props, and forgot this line this time. Okay. So this is the class component. We can create a class component by using this. So in functional component, we always use a return keyword because a function always returns something. If we want to call this function, that this function returns something. Okay, so that's why we use return keyword. So every function returns something. Either it is class component or it is a function component. So if you see this class component, so this function is also returning a JSX element. Okay, but the difference between a function and class component, we inside class component we use render method. Okay, render method is used to render something to the DOM. And if I want to render something, or if I want to show something into the browser, so by using class component, I must always use render method. So inside this render method is a function. Okay, so this inside render method we use return keyword to render something to the DOM. So if you see that we generally most of the peoples use class component, but in trending we always use a functional component. So why we use always function component? Because it is easy to write, easy to understand. In class component, if you see, the lifecycle method creates a complex code, so most of the people not understand properly class components, because in class component we have to write extra code, but by using functional component we don't need to write extra code. There are lots of predefined functions we can use. So this is how as I discussed how to render a component. We are assigning an HTML element into this variable called element. Okay, so this is how we are rendering something to the DOM. This is a user defined component. We can create it to there are two components. The first one is the um, predefined component, and the second one is the user defined component. So it is a user defined component. If you see that the welcome is not a keyword. If you see that div div is not created by us. Okay, so this div is available in HTML, so that's why we're using HTML. But inside this, if you see this example, we are creating our own element, user defined components. And okay, so I'm creating a component called child. Here I am creating a function component. So as I said, a function component always return something. Okay, so I am returning something. So to call this function component, we have to import this function component inside our parent component. So if you see that app.js, I'm making this app.js as the parent component and child.js is the child component. So if I want to use this child component, okay, so I have to call this component inside my parent component. So I am importing this component, import child. Okay, the child component I have imported. So this is how we import any class or any functions. And if I want to use this function child component, I write simply this. So if you see that hello Adarsh is showing in the browser. Okay. So now we are using, so if you see that we are using a keyword called props. So why using props? So we are props are nothing but a variable. Okay. It is not a variable. It is a kind of object. So if I want to pass data from parent component to child component, okay, suppose I want to pass data from parent component to child component. I want to pass this name into my child component. Okay, so how can I pass this data? So we are using props. So this child component accept a prop variable. So if I use like this name is equals to name. So that's how we are passing data. So inside our child component, I'm accessing this name by using this, and I am replacing this others with this name. So if you see that the component child component X.
Did we lose him?
Any doubt?
Actually, Arun, I think we lost you for a couple of minutes. Could you please repeat that?
Okay. So where I've lost it. So did you guys understand props? What is props and why we are using props? Hello.
No, sir,
Guys,
not understood.
Okay.
Arun, please go through props again.
Okay. Okay. So props are nothing but an object which is used to pass data from parent component to child component. Suppose if I want to pass data from app to my child component, so how can I pass data? So we use a convention called props, properties called props. So this is the suppose I want to pass this data to my child component. So how can I pass this data? So we are using props, okay, to pass the data from parent component to child component. So this is the convention that we are using to pass data. Address is equals to, inside this curly braces we are placing the, so this is how we are using data to our child component. So so inside this child component, how can I access this data? So if you see that in app.js, we are using, we are passing two data. The first one is the name and the second one is the address. So inside this child component, we are accessing this address and rendering to the DOM, but we are not using address. So I'm by writing this or by destructuring this address from the props. So now I am able to use this address. Okay. So this is how props work. So props are nothing but to pass data from parent component to child component, and this is how we pass data. So are you guys understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Understood, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Arun, just a second. So, guys, before we go forward, I just wanted to understand if everyone has completed the lectures on JavaScript.
I think before jumping into the React, you have a little bit basic understanding of JavaScript.
Yeah. So the lectures has JavaScript courses. So this is just an this is just to prepare you guys to for the React lectures going forward. But you should complete the JavaScript course before completing it. Satik, you raise your hand. Do you want to say something?
Sorry, sir. Not what I have completed with JavaScript.
Okay. Is there anyone who is yet to complete JavaScript? Because guys, before you jump onto React and Node, you should have the understanding of JavaScript. And I am under the impression that you guys already have completed the JavaScript lectures. Okay. So if you have not, yeah, do complete the JavaScript lectures before you jump into the React lectures. Okay. So the purpose of these lectures are just to give you an overview of the so that the content in the lectures are not alien to you. Okay. So that you can grasp it better. If you have some pre knowledge on the subject, then you can get the lectures properly. So please go through JavaScript. Okay. And has everyone completed their assignments on HTML and CSS?
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone who is yet to do it? Could you please raise your hand if is there anyone who is yet to do it? So no one. So I assume everyone here has completed it. Okay. So we'll go through your code. If you have committed in the Bitbucket or GitHub, we'll go through your code. Yeah, Arun, you can go ahead.
Okay. So we have states and lifecycle methods available in React. So what is a state? So a state is an object which holds some information and which may change over the lifetime of the component. Okay. So in functional components, we can create a state by using use state function. So React provide a use state functions. So by using use state, we can create our states in function components. Okay. So the use state function return two things. Okay. So the first one is the state variable, and the second one is the set state or whatever you want to name something. So it is a function. Okay. So this is how we create a state inside our function component. So this use state return two things. The first one is the state and the second one is the function. Okay. The state and the function name can be anything. Suppose if I write to Arun, then I can write anything. Okay. But one thing keep in your mind. we have to, when we are writing a set state function, then it will definitely start with a set. Okay, so this Arun is a state variable and the set is Arun is a function. Okay, and we can provide any predefined text inside this, and we can write empty. So suppose if I uh, provide Arun, this is the predefined content to this variable. And if I use this state variable inside our components, so we are simply write by using curly braces. If you see that the Arun is rendering, okay. Suppose if I create a button. So this is a state variable, okay, and this is a function. So this state variable contains any element or any code, and this set state is used to update this state variable. So here we are creating a button called click me, and when I click this button, okay, when I click this button, so it will update, it will call this function. So button accept a function called on click. If you have learn go through the HTML documentation, if you see that the button accept a function called on click, and when we click on that button, it will trigger this handle click function. So I'm creating a handle click function here. So when I click this button, it will call this handle click function, and this function set the name Arun to hello Arun. Okay, so suppose if I click, so if you see that hello Arun, again I'm showing. So when I click this button, click me, so it will change, or it will replace this content Arun to this hello Arun. Okay, so this is how states work. So states are used, or state generally refers to the properties that is used to change the behavior of a component. So here we are changing the behavior of a component. Okay, so state is used to track data inside our functional component. So are you guys understand?
Yes.
So in class component, the state variable is different from function component. Okay, so in class component, we have to create a constructor which accept a property called prop, and after that we have to call a super method, and after that we create a state variable. State, this state variable is an object. So this is how we create a state in our class component. And if I want to you access this state variable, then we have to call this render method and return something to the ROM so that the browser can understand what we are trying to display on the browser. So the procedure is same, but in class component, if we want to access any data inside our class component, we have to access that data by using this keyword. So by using this keyword, I am using this name. So this is how we access the state variable inside our class component. Okay. Suppose if I giving some predefined content and if I call this app2, if you see that this is how we using state variable inside our class component. So here we are only printing the name by using this dot state dot name. Okay. And if I remove this, then it will throw an error. State is not defined because inside class component, we only have a restrictions to access any variable or any function inside of a class component. We always use a this keyword. So this is why we are using this, because this is bound in class component. This is not bound to the element. Okay. Functions are not bounded in class components. So this is why we using this keyword. We have to explicitly bind the functions or variable inside our class components. So this is why we using this keyword. So this here represents this properties. Okay, so this is how a class component, a function component states works. So there are lifecycle method. Well, lifecycle method is too long. I think we have to cover another session for this lifecycle method because there are lots of lifecycle method presents. So in class component, we have component did mount method, component will unmount method, and there's lots of, I think we have to cover another session for it.
I don't know. I think that will be covered in the lectures properly. These matters.
In another lecture.
No, no. The lectures that we have given them, the video lectures, the videos. I think this will be covered there properly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, as I said, the purpose of this sessions are not to make you learn the entire React, but give you an heads up about what is about to come for you. So, are there any doubts? Guys, do you guys have any questions, doubts? Yeah, Mohan, I see. Mohan, you're trying to say something? I guess not. Okay. So, Arun, you want to cover anything else, or are you good here?
I think most of the important parts I have covered. There's,
Okay. Okay.
I think I have to cover this inheritance, lifting states up, and I think this entire I need to cover. What
Okay.
is hook? Why we are using hooks? Yeah.
Okay.
So when will we cover this?
I mean, we still have around 15 minutes, so you can cover them in that. Will it take more time?
Hmm.
So let's do one thing, Arun.
Hmm.
So guys, Arun, can you mute it? I think there's a echo.
Yeah.
So guys, parallelly as you go through the lectures, also read this React guide as well. So after you have done the lectures, we'll organize another session on the React if we have any doubt or something, because React is a very important topic for us. This is going to decide how your front end is going to look and how your code flows through. So read the document as well for this. I know that for this week we were scheduled to have JavaScript and Git and everything, but we thought we will give you a heads up on React because that is a very important thing. JavaScript anyhow will cover in the assignments that we give you, and I know that you guys have been committing your code in Git, so you have a basic idea. But we'll take another session on Git to go through the very advanced topics of it, like the architecture and the merge conflict and everything. So please feel free to raise any concerns or questions that you guys have. So if not, then we will send you the JavaScript assignments by tomorrow. So be prepared, and if there are any questions or anything, please raise it to us. Hitesh, you there?
Yes, Adarsh.
Yeah, Hitesh. I think for now, I think this should be enough.
Oh, yes.
So we'll send them the assignments tomorrow in JavaScript. So once they go through it, then it will be helpful for them, and they can. Just a suggestion from our side is they could start reading the documentation on React as well
Yes,
as
yes.
they go through the lectures. So okay,
Yes,
so
that's clear. That's clear. They'll go through the JavaScript tasks so that they'll get some more doubts, and they'll meet us in
that,
next time.
right, okay.
Hi, sir.
Yes, Satvik, you're saying something.
Yes, sir. In the in the task 3, which is responsive page, na, sir. I have some doubts in that
Yeah,
task
sure,
3.
sure.
My,
Please go ahead and ask. Arun, please address these.
okay, sir. I will screen share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Sir, is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. It is mainly written in medium and above devices. Like even you can see in the large devices and medium. But when I shift to the small or extra small devices, like this container is going out of range, sir. But the value section and the section is working fine, but this product
I
section
think
is
your inner container takes the width, extra width. Right click on the inner container,
is
the mobile holder. Yeah, right click here.
inspect. What should I know, sir?
No, go to the browser. Go to the browser.
This one, sir.
Yeah. Right click.
Give me a second. Okay, right click.
Okay. Yeah, right click here.
Yes, sir.
open this code output into the Chrome browser, because we cannot inspect here.
Sir, here it is.
Go to this file.
Which one, sir?
Mhm.
I did not understand, sir.
Satvik, are you storing this code in your computer, or is it using an ID or something? What is it?
It is
So-
something. It is integrated in another
Yeah, yeah.
website, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is we need to inspect this. So we cannot do it. Can we do it here?
Yes, sir. I
No.
think here it is possible.
Yeah, I think there is an option to inspect it on the top right. Can you click on it? Just beside the run option. On the black screen, if you see, there is an option to inspect.
Is it fine, sir?
No.
Satvik, we are trying to inspect the website.
Open this code into the Chrome browser.
I don't know what to do actually, sir. To open that.
Mhm. I think Adarsh, can we connect this on later?
Yeah, because yeah, Satvik, understand this. What we are trying to say. We are trying to inspect your website. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So in
Okay.
this IDE, I don't see an option. I do see it, but can you click on it once? If you see, there is an option to inspect.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, right. Can you click on it once?
Okay.
I don't see a console or anything on the right side of it.
Okay.
So what Satvik we are suggesting is, if you could open this code in Chrome, can you save this file in your local system and
Okay.
run it from there? Is what we are asking you to do.
Okay, sir. In the next session, I will be doing that.
Sure. You can download it directly from here. So that way it can open it for you. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sure.
Sir.
All right.